topic will be on electron transport chain, and we'll proceed to oxidative phosphorylation. So describe the electron transport chain. What is it? So the electron transport chain is a specialized set of electron carriers. So complex 1, 2, 3, and 4 are electron carriers. So again, the electron transport chain is a specialized set of electron transport carriers that will transfer electrons derived from fuels utilized by the body in the synthesis of energy. So what are the fuels utilized by the body in the synthesis of energy? So mostly glucose coming from carbohydrate, and then they also have fatty acids coming from lipids, and the amino acids during periods of starvation. So the electrons that will be derived from them when they are oxidized will be transferred, okay, through these different electron carrier proteins. And ultimately, it will be transferred to oxygen, causing the reduction of oxygen into water and the transfer of electrons. So where is electron chain, transport chain located? It is found in the inner mitochondrial membrane. It is found in the inner mitochondrial membrane. So what is the importance of the electron transport chain? So the transfer of electrons from complex 1, 2, 3, 4 will lead to the release of free energy. And what is the importance of the free energy that is released as electrons are transferred through the different components of the electron transport chain? It will result to the formation of a proton gradient. So how is a proton gradient developed when electrons are being transferred from complex 1 to complex 4? So the inner mitochondrial membrane is impermeable to most molecules, including H ions or protons found in the mitochondrial matrix. So that the free energy released by the transfer of the electrons will be used to pump protons, this proton, in complex 1, 3, and 4. As protons are pumped into the intermembrane space, what is created is a proton gradient. So therefore, when we say a proton gradient is created, it would mean that there will be a difference in the concentration of the protons in the matrix, in this portion of the mitochondria, and in the intermembrane space. So if protons are pumped into the intermembrane space, there will be more protons in the intermembrane space. There will be less in the matrix. So that is how a proton gradient is formed. Okay? And other than that, because there are more protons in the intermembrane space which are positively charged, then the pumping of protons into the intermembrane space will also create what we call an electrical gradient. So what is the electrical gradient? That the charge here in the matrix, this will be negative, and the charge in the intermembrane space will be positive. So therefore, there are two effects in the transfer of electrons from complex 1 to complex 4. The creation of a proton gradient, where there are more protons in the intermembrane space, less in the matrix. And another, an electrical gradient. Why? Because if there are more protons in the intermembrane space, these are positively charged. So a positive charge is being carried by these protons, and the charge in the matrix will now be negative. And what is the importance of the creation of a proton and electrical gradient? It will be utilized later in the synthesis of ATP. So later we'll be discussing how ATP is synthesized by the creation of a proton and an electrical gradient. So again, the electron transport chain is a specialized set of electron carriers that will transfer electrons derived from the fuel utilized by the body in the synthesis of energy. And these electrons are ultimately transferred to oxygen, causing its reduction into water, and the flow of electrons will be accompanied by the release of free energy. Okay? And what will be created? What is the use of the release of the free energy? It will be utilized to pump protons in complex 1, complex 3, and complex 4, creating a proton gradient. So more protons now will be found in the intermembrane space, less in the matrix side of the inner mitochondrial membrane. And because of that, at the same time, what is created is an electrical gradient, because protons carry with them a positive charge in the intermembrane space side of the inner mitochondrial membrane, and the charge here will be negative. And these two, the proton and the electrical gradient, will be utilized in the synthesis of ATP in complex 5 in a process we call oxidative phosphorylation. So that's the importance of your electron transport chain. Ultimately, the transfer of electrons will lead to the synthesis of ATP in complex 5. Questions so far? So state now the components of the electron transport chains. The two main components are proteins and lipid. All of the components of the electron transport chain, complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, and complex 4, they are all proteins except coenzyme Q. And including cytochrome C, this is a protein as well. So, therefore, all components of the electron transport chain from complex 1 to 4, they are proteins. Complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, and cytochrome C, and complex 4. Except for coenzyme Q, which is a lipid. So there are 3 types of proteins found in the electron transport chain. What are they? The first are your flavoproteins. Second, your cytochromes. Okay? So what are the cytochromes in the electron transport chain? So first, you have in complex 3. And then, this is cytochrome C, a mobile electron carrier. In complex 4, it is also a cytochrome. And the third type of protein found in the electron transport chain are your iron sulfur proteins. And the only lipid in the electron transport chain is your coenzyme Q. So we'll be discussing the chemical properties and the structure of these different proteins and this lipid in the electron transport chain. So describe flavoproteins. What are they? Flavoproteins mean they are electron transferring proteins whose prosthetic groups are either a flavin mononucleotide in complex 1 or a flavin adenine dinucleotide in complex 2. So again, flavoproteins are electron transferring protein, meaning they serve to transfer electrons using a prosthetic group, either flavin mononucleotide in complex 1 or flavin adenine dinucleotide in complex 2. So those are the prosthetic groups. Although other than flavin mononucleotide and flavin adenine dinucleotide, your flavoproteins in complex 1 and 2 have another prosthetic group. Okay? Your iron sulfur proteins. So complex 1 has also an iron sulfur center or protein in complex 2. And they are called flavoproteins because of the presence of your prosthetic group flavin mononucleotide or flavin adenine dinucleotide coming from your vitamin B2, riboflavin. Okay? So state the flavoproteins found in the electron transport chain. So there are two. Complex 1 is classified as flavoprotein. And complex 2 is another flavoprotein. So they are called flavo. Why? Because of the presence of the prosthetic group flavin mononucleotide in complex 1 and flavin adenine dinucleotide in complex 2. But take note, other than the flavin acting as prosthetic groups that are involved in the transfer of electrons in complex 1 and 2, there is also the presence of the other prosthetic groups that are involved in the transfer of electrons. So in the electron transport chain, only complex 1 and 2 are classified as flavoproteins. Okay. By the way, your flavoprotein as a protein is categorized as a conjugated protein. Can you still remember what is a conjugated protein? A conjugated protein is a protein that contains prosthetic groups for it to be able to carry out its function. Otherwise, in the absence of this prosthetic group, then the protein will not be able to carry out its catalytic activity. So, therefore, your flavoprotein, it is able to carry out its function due to the presence of prosthetic groups. So, state the flavoproteins that fed electrons also into the electron transport chain, although they are not components of the electron transport chain. So first, what are the components of the electron transport chain? Complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, and complex 4. And you have the two other components of the electron transport chain are mobile electron carriers. So let's go back. Okay. So, the components of the electron transport chain, there are 4 complexes. Complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, and complex 4. Plus 2 mobile electron carriers. What are the 2 mobile electron carriers? They are your coenzyme Q and cytochrome C. So out of these 6, 2 components of the electron transport chain are categorized as flavoproteins, and they are complex 1 and complex 2. Because complex 1, its prosthetic group, one of its prosthetic groups is flavin mononucleotide. For a while now. This one, flavin mononucleotide. That's why it's classified as a flavoprotein. And then, complex 2, it is also categorized as a flavoprotein because of the presence of a prosthetic group, flavin adenine dinucleotide. So only 2 components of the electron transport chain are categorized or fall under the category flavoproteins. But there are other flavoproteins that will feed electrons into the electron transport chain. And what are they? 1, this enzyme. Your electron transferring flavoprotein Q-oxidoreductase. Okay? So this protein is found on the peripheral side of the inner mitochondrial membrane facing the matrix, this one. Because you have another flavoprotein found on the periphery, so this is a peripheral protein, but this is facing the intermembrane space side, or what we call the T side, while the matrix side is called the inside. So what is the role of this flavoprotein? It feeds electrons into coenzyme Q. And what is the source of electrons feed by this flavoprotein into coenzyme Q? It is the fatty acids that will undergo beta oxidation in the mitochondrial matrix. So a series of reactions will occur. For example, enol is a fatty acid, and it is activated by the addition of coenzyme A. When this will be oxidized by the enzyme acyl-CoA dehydrogenase, the coenzyme utilized is flavin adenine dinucleotide. So that's why this protein containing a prosthetic group FAD is called an electron transferring flavoprotein. And the reduced FAD is FADH2. So once it reaches electron transferring flavoprotein Q-oxidoreductase, the reduced FAD, which is FADH2, will be oxidized by this enzyme. And once it is oxidized, its electrons will be transferred to another prosthetic group found in this protein, your iron sulfur center. And it will be the iron sulfur center that will transfer the electrons to coenzyme Q. And another flavoprotein found on the outer side of the membrane is your glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. The prosthetic group of this enzyme, which will oxidize FAD, is also considered a flavoprotein because its prosthetic group is FAD. And the role of this enzyme will be to oxidize glycerol 3-phosphate generated in the cytoplasm. And when this is oxidized, its electrons will be transferred to FAD, and FAD will become FADH2. And FADH2 will be oxidized by glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, and the electrons now from FADH2 will be transferred to coenzyme Q. Therefore, in the inner mitochondrial membrane, This is the inner mitochondrial membrane of the mitochondria. There are 4 flavoproteins. 2 of them are components of the electron transport chain. What are they? Complex 1 and 2. But there are other 2 flavoproteins that will feed electrons into the electron transport chain into coenzyme Q. So these are the 2 other flavoproteins. Although they are not component of the electron transport chain, but they fed electrons into coenzyme Q, which is a component of the electron transport chain. Okay. So this is flavoprotein 1. To be exact, in complex 1, this is classified as a flavoprotein. It is actually an enzyme, to be exact. And the complete name of flavoprotein 1 in complex 1 is NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase. I hope you are following because it requires understanding of redox reaction and the knowledge of enzyme. So again, let's review. If you are given an enzyme, and for example, the name of the enzyme, which is in complex 1, is NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase. What is the catalytic activity of this enzyme? First, it will oxidize NADH. That's why there is oxido, because it is involved in a redox reaction. So NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase will oxidize NADH fed by Krebs cycle or glycolysis into complex 1. And once NADH is oxidized, its electrons first will be transferred to flavin mononucleotide. I'll move the slide so that you can follow here. So NADH coming from glycolysis or from Krebs cycle or from NADH generated in the beta oxidation of fatty acids, it is fed into complex 1. And your NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase will oxidize NADH. And its electrons and protons will be transferred to flavin mononucleotide, the first prosthetic group of complex 1. This will become, after accepting electrons and protons, the reduced form flavin mononucleotide H2. Okay? And then this will be oxidized and its protons and electrons will be removed and it will be transferred to an iron sulfur center. And the reduced iron in the ferrous form, which is attached to a sulfur atom, will be oxidized as well, and its electrons will be transferred to coenzyme Q. So therefore, if the name of the enzyme, I will go back, if the name of the enzyme is NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase, the reaction in NADH will undergo with the oxidation, leading to the removal of its protons and electrons that will be transferred to flavin mononucleotide, then to the iron sulfur center, then from the iron sulfur center to coenzyme Q. Therefore, what happens to coenzyme Q? It undergoes reduction. That's why the word reductase, because the enzyme will reduce coenzyme Q after electrons from the iron sulfur center are transferred to coenzyme Q. UQ is the oxidized form. It's called ubiquinone. But after it will accept electrons and protons transferred by the iron sulfur center electrons, then it becomes reduced into ubiquinone. So that's how we interpret the catalytic activity of the enzymes found in the electron transport chain. actually the components of the electron transport chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 are enzymes, except coenzyme Q and cytochrome C, which will act as a mobile electron carriers. Okay? Got it? Sige, we will go back. So we are done with this. So those are the components of complex 1. If you look at this figure, this is the matrix arm of complex 1. When we say matrix arm, this is the portion of complex 1 that protrudes into the mitochondrial matrix. And the matrix arm of complex 1 is the one responsible in the transfer of electrons. Why is it responsible for the transfer of electrons? It is because the electron transferring prosthetic groups are found in the matrix arm. Your flavin mononucleotide and a series of iron sulfur centers, between 6 to 8 of them, before the electrons are transferred to coenzyme Q. Take note, coenzyme Q is found in the phospholipid bilayer of the mitochondrial membrane. But it will bind to the matrix arm to receive the electrons transferred by the iron sulfur center. After binding, it will detach. Where will it go? So let's go back. Where will it go? It will transfer the electrons and protons it will receive from complex 1 to complex 3. So complex 3 has a binding site also for the reduced coenzyme Q. And the reduced coenzyme Q, this one, reduced, will undergo oxidation in complex 3. Okay? So what about the other portion of complex 1? This is called the membrane arm. Why is it called membrane? Because it lies in the inner mitochondrial membrane, while this lies in the matrix side. What is the role of the membrane arm? It serves as a pump, okay, to pump protons from the matrix side towards the intermembrane space. That's the role of the membrane arm, this one, of your complex 1. So therefore, the components of complex arm are the matrix arm containing the prosthetic groups, flavin mononucleotide, and iron sulfur centers responsible in the transfer of electrons to coenzyme Q. While the membrane arm is responsible in pumping protons from the matrix side into the intermembrane space. So as electrons are transferred from flavin then to the iron sulfur center, then a free energy will be liberated, and this free energy will be utilized in pumping protons from the matrix to the intermembrane space. So those are the components and the role of the different portions of your complex 1. So discuss the catalytic activity of NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase. So we have discussed it already, that this enzyme will oxidize NADH, fed into complex 1, and the protons and electrons will ultimately be transferred to coenzyme Q. So therefore, this enzyme will cause reduction of coenzyme Q. So it's easy to remember. NADH undergoes oxidation. Coenzyme Q undergoes reduction. After it will accept the electrons transferred to coenzyme Q, And then protons released into the matrix will be added to coenzyme Q to convert this into the fully reduced form of coenzyme Q, which is COQH2. Okay? Again. So do not worry. I'll give you soft copies of the different references I have on my slides. I'll give you another soft copy of the textbooks. So now we go to the components of complex 2, which is a flavoprotein. So this is complex 2. So actually, complex 2 is an enzyme as well. And this is an enzyme in Krebs cycle, your succinate dehydrogenase. And where is this located? I'll move the slide for a while. I'll move it. This enzyme for a while. Okay. This enzyme is located in the inner mitochondrial membrane as a peripheral enzyme found towards the matrix side of your mitochondria. Okay? Complex 2. So this is the only enzyme in Krebs cycle that is found in the inner mitochondrial membrane, because the 7 other enzymes of Krebs cycle are found in the mitochondrial matrix. Do you know the different parts of the mitochondria? The mitochondria has 2 membranes, the outer mitochondrial membrane. And then after the outer mitochondrial membrane, you have the intermembrane space. And this is the second membrane, the inner mitochondrial membrane. And after that is now the matrix, mitochondrial matrix, where some of the pathways are operating like Krebs cycle. Okay? So we'll now move to complex 2. So the components of complex 2 are the enzyme itself, succinate dehydrogenase, plus its prosthetic groups. How many are they? 3. You have flavin, adenine, dinucleotide. You also have an iron sulfur center. Then you have beta type heme of the beta type. So let's look at the structure of complex 2. So this is the structure of complex 2. Okay? It has 4 subunits, A, B, where's letter C? In the green. And this is letter D, subunit. So where are the prosthetic groups? You have your flavin, adenine, dinucleotide. And these are iron sulfur centers. So when succinate, so the name of the enzyme, let's go back. The complete name of the enzyme is succinate coenzyme Q oxidoreductase. So tell me, what will happen to succinate? It will be oxidized, reduced. Okay, it should be oxidized. And what will happen to coenzyme Q? It will be reduced. So the same with NADH. The coenzyme Q will be reduced, but the substrate in complex 2 is succinate, so therefore it is oxidized. Okay. So the succinate will bind here, and it will be oxidized. Its protons and electrons will be removed, and it will be transferred to the prosthetic group. Remember, this is a coenzyme. And this will accept protons and electrons, and this will be oxidized again, and its electrons will be transferred to the iron sulfur centers. And coenzyme Q will bind here, and the electrons in the iron sulfur centers will be transferred to coenzyme Q. The heme B type acting as prosthetic group has no role in the transfer of electrons. Why is it that it doesn't have a role in the transfer of electron? Because it is not along the path of electron transfer. And therefore, what is the role of heme B? It will prevent electrons, okay, from bypassing this path, leading to, if an electron will bypass this path, it will not ultimately be transferred to coenzyme Q. Then this electron can move into the matrix and react with molecular oxygen, forming a free oxygen radical. So therefore, the role of the heme B is more or less to prevent formation of a free oxygen radical by preventing electrons to bypass this path. That's the role of your heme B. Okay. So discuss the catalytic activity of succinate coenzyme Q oxidoreductase. So we have explained it already. It will oxidize succinate, and it is converted into fumarate. Its protons and electrons are transferred to the prosthetic group, a coenzyme, flavin adenine dinucleotide. And again, if this is reduced, it will be oxidized. Its electrons are transferred to the iron sulfur center, and this will undergo oxidation. By the way, if you have an iron sulfur center, the iron will switch from the reduced to the oxidized form. From the reduced to the oxidized form. So let's look at complex 2. If FADH2 is oxidized, its electron acceptor will be the ferric form of iron. When the ferric form of iron will accept the electrons coming from FADH2, it will be converted into the ferrous form. So that's how iron in an iron sulfur center will participate in the transfer of electrons in the electron transport chain. And ultimately, the electrons in the reduced form of iron, the ferrous form, will be transferred to coenzyme Q. And this will now be converted into the reduced form QH2 or ubiquinone. So therefore, coenzyme Q undergoes reduction while succinate undergoes oxidation. Okay. Balik-balik ko na siya. The same catalytic activity of complex 1. So now we'll move to flavoprotein 3. So this is not a component of the electron transport chain, but it is an enzyme that transfers electrons to coenzyme Q. Okay, so this is the flavoprotein. So these are the steps in the oxidation of fatty acids in the mitochondrial membrane. In the mitochondrial membrane. So you have an activated fatty acid called fatty acyl CoA. This will undergo oxidation. And its oxidizing agent is FAD. And the enzyme, name of the enzyme is acyl CoA dehydrogenase, meaning a dehydrogenase will remove hydrogen atoms in the substrate in the form of protons and electrons, and it will be transferred to FAD, and FAD will be converted into the reduced form FADH2, and then you have this electron transferring flavoprotein which will become reduced as FADH2 here will be oxidized, and ultimately it will be transferred to flavoprotein 3, your electron transferring flavoprotein Q oxidoreductase. So what will undergo oxidation here is your electron transferring flavoprotein, whose prosthetic groups are FAD and iron sulfur center. The protons and electrons from FAD will be transferred to the iron sulfur center, then ultimately to coenzyme Q. Therefore, coenzyme Q again undergoes reduction, while ATF, electron transferring flavoprotein, will undergo oxidation. Specifically, it is FADH2, the prosthetic group of your enzyme, electron transferring flavoprotein Q, oxidoreductase. Okay? So next, discuss the catalytic activity. We have discussed it already. Of your electron transferring flavoprotein, coenzyme Q, oxidoreductase, this enzyme or this protein. So what about the components of flavoprotein 4? This one, glycerophosphate dehydrogenase. So first, you have the enzyme and its prosthetic groups. In some textbooks, it has only one prosthetic group, FAD. It doesn't have iron sulfur center. While in this textbook, it has an iron sulfur center. So this is the structure of the enzyme, this one. It is found on the intermembrane space side of the inner mitochondrial membrane. So what is the source of the protons? It transfers to coenzyme Q. The source is actually the NADH generated in step 6 in glycolysis. So NADH formed in glycolysis will be shuttled into the electron transport chain. How? So first, NADH will undergo oxidation by the enzyme, the cytosolic isoenzyme of glycerol 3-phosphate. So this is glycerol 3-phosphate. So the cytosolic enzyme will oxidize NADH, and these protons and electrons will be transferred to dihydroxyacetone phosphate, another metabolic intermediate in Krebs cycle, formed by the cleavage of, if you can remember, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone. The acceptor of the protons and electrons will be the carbonyl group. So this will be attached here, converting dihydroxyacetone phosphate into glycerol 3-phosphate. So this is the reduced form of dihydroxyacetone phosphate. And this substrate will be oxidized now by your glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, this enzyme, which is the mitochondrial isoenzyme. Remember isoenzymes? Isoenzymes are molecules of the same enzyme that catalyze the same reaction. But for this particular enzyme, how do they differ? They differ in terms of their location. One, the cytosolic glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, carrying out its catalytic activity in the cytosol, while the mitochondrial isoenzyme carries out its catalytic activity in the inner mitochondria, inner membrane of the mitochondria. So this enzyme now will oxidize glycerol 3-phosphate, remove this as protons, these hydrogen atoms in the form of protons and electrons, and its coenzyme is FAD. And FAD will be reduced into FADH2, and again, this enzyme will oxidize FADH2, and 8 electrons will be transferred to coenzyme Q, causing reduction of ubiquinol into the reduced form, the ubiquinone. Remember, coenzyme Q is a coenzyme also. Di ba we have discussed coenzyme? Oh, malimot mo, di mo kakunin. That's why the earlier topics, they are still important. Although you might think, I will not study them anymore. You cannot understand electron transport chain without understanding the role of coenzymes, the catalytic activity of enzymes, and so on. So we are done with flavoprotein 4. So we have discussed the catalytic activity of mitochondrial glycerol 3-phosphate. So this is considered as your flavoprotein 4 because its prosthetic group contains flavin, your flavin, adenine, dinucleotide. Okay. What's your class after this? PCM. What time?
2:30
Up to 30 sa end. So when do you want to have the short quiz? Friday? Because we have 2 meetings only on electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. I cannot allocate 15 minutes for the short quiz anymore because I will not be able to finish my topic. So your short quiz will be a post-test. It will be a post-test. I will not utilize part of my time, otherwise I cannot finish. Okay? So, kano sa man yung quiz gusto? On Friday is our makeup. What time? 10 o'clock. 10 to 12. So, we'll utilize 30 minutes. So, at 10, we will have the short quiz. Is that okay? Okay. And then after the short quiz, we'll continue to finish the topic.
Ilang items to?
10 items, and the topic and the coverage of the short quiz will be what we will be able to cover until 2:30 this afternoon. Okay? Begin. So, the next group of electron transferring proteins are your cytochromes. Your cytochromes. So, describe cytochromes. What are cytochromes? If flavoproteins are electron transferring protein that transfers electrons through the use of a flavin, mononucleotide or FAD. A cytochrome is an electron transferring hemoprotein. Again, cytochromes are electron transferring hemoprotein, HEMO. Why is it called a hemoprotein? Because the transfer of the electrons is via the use of a heme group. Diba you're familiar with heme, hemoglobin and myoglobin. The other role of heme will be to transfer electrons. And therefore, cytochromes are considered as hemoproteins because it will transfer an electron using a heme group. But in myoglobin and hemoglobin, the heme will be used to transfer oxygen or store oxygen for myoglobin. But in a cytochrome, it is utilized to transfer electrons. Okay? So state the cytochromes found in the electron transport chain. Complex 3, cytochrome BC1. And the complete name of the enzyme is coenzyme Q, cytochrome C, oxidoreductase. This is a cytochrome. Another is cytochrome C, a mobile electron carrier. This is not an enzyme like coenzyme Q because these two are mobile electron carriers. And the other cytochrome is complex 4. And the name of the enzyme is cytochrome C oxidase. Okay. So state the cytochromes in the electron transport chain that are electron transferring enzymes. To be exact, there are only 2, complex 3 and complex 4. because cytochrome C is not an enzyme. Again, it will simply transfer electrons, acting as an electron transferring protein, but it is not an enzyme. So the enzyme that will oxidize cytochrome C will be complex 4, your cytochrome C oxidase. That's why the name of the enzyme is cytochrome C oxidase, because it will oxidize the reduced cytochrome C as it binds to complex 4. Okay? And this enzyme, the complete name is coenzyme Q cytochrome C oxidoreductase. So the substrate of complex 3 will be the reduced coenzyme Q. It will oxidize it. And in the process, it will reduce cytochrome C1, because complex 3 is cytochrome BC1. Okay? Cytochrome, this is complex 3, cytochrome BC1. So it will be cytochrome C1 that will be reduced. We will show it anyway, do not worry. And the cytochrome that acts as a mobile electron carrier is cytochrome C. Okay. I cannot help but to use different textbooks. Why? One textbook will not explain everything about what is happening in the electron transport chain and the structure of the different electron transferring protein. So that's why I have several references, just to make you understand. So describe coenzyme Q cytochrome C oxidoreductase. So again, it is a hemoprotein that will transfer electrons from coenzyme Q to cytochrome C1 by oxidizing the reduced coenzyme Q, and thereby reducing cytochrome C1 to be exact, because complex 3 is cytochrome BC1. So let's look at the structure of complex 3. So you have here cytochrome B, because it is cytochrome BC1. So color this one green, your cytochrome B. And then, what are the prosthetic groups in cytochrome B? They are heme BL and heme BH. This one also. This is the lighter green. This is the okay. These are the prosthetic groups, colored brown vanilla. Okay. And the other component of complex 3 is your cytochrome C1. This is the heme, and this is cytochrome C1, colored blue. And the other prosthetic group in complex 3 are your risky iron sulfur proteins. Okay, so later we will talk about iron sulfur proteins. So those are the components of complex 3. So discuss the catalytic activity of coenzyme Q cytochrome C oxidoreductase. So this is complex 3, cytochrome BC1 complex. It will oxidize coenzyme Q that will bind to cytochrome B. Okay, that will bind to your complex 3. And once this is oxidized, the electrons will be transferred to the prosthetic group of your cytochrome B. What did we say? Cytochrome B has two types of hemes, BL and BH. Okay, here, BL and BH. And what is in the heme that is involved in the transfer of electrons? The iron atom. Always remember, a heme has an iron atom. So it is the one that is involved in the transfer of electrons. So in the oxidized form of cytochrome B, the iron in the heme is in the ferric form. Ferric form. And once it will accept electrons from the oxidized coenzyme Q, the ferric form of iron is converted into a ferrous form. And then you have an iron sulfur center, your risky iron sulfur center. So if the ferrous form will be oxidized, the ferric form of iron in the iron sulfur center will be reduced, and it is converted into the ferrous form. And the ferrous form of iron in the iron sulfur center again will be oxidized, and it is transferred to cytochrome C1, leading to the reduction of the ferric form of iron in cytochrome C1 into the ferrous form. And now, what will happen? This will undergo oxidation, leading to the reduction of cytochrome C. So it is cytochrome C, the mobile electron carrier, that will be reduced by this enzyme, after the electrons from the reduced form of coenzyme Q are transferred to it. Okay? So this is the one undergoing reduction when it is reduced, while it is the coenzyme Q that is oxidized. So that's the catalytic activity of coenzyme Q. This enzyme. So this is complex 3. So later we'll be discussing in a separate section how protons will flow from the matrix, from the components of the electron transport chain into the intermembrane space, and how electrons will flow from complex 1 to complex 4. Now we'll move to the mobile electron carrier, a cytochrome. So state the cytochrome in the electron transport chain. That is a mobile electron carrier. It is cytochrome C. So first, where is cytochrome C located? It is located on the side of the intermembrane space. So it is a peripheral protein, a peripheral electron-carrying protein, while coenzyme Q is found in the phospholipid bilayer of the inner mitochondrial membrane, while cytochrome C is a peripheral electron transferring protein. So cytochrome C shifts from complex 3 to complex 4, when it will transfer electrons from complex 3 to complex 4. After it is oxidized in complex 4, it moves back to complex 3 to become reduced again. Okay. So that's the role of cytochrome C, to transfer electrons from complex 3 to complex 4. So let's discuss the components of complex 5. So this is complex 5. The enzyme is called cytochrome C oxidase. If it is cytochrome, its prosthetic group is a heme containing again an iron that will be involved in the transfer of electrons. So you have two A-type hemes. And what is found in cytochrome C oxidase also, other than iron atoms in the heme, there are copper ions also. Okay? And you have two cytochromes here, cytochrome A and cytochrome A3. So let's look at the figure. So cytochrome C oxidase, it has 3 subunits. Subunit 1 containing subunit 1 containing cytochrome A and its heme is heme A, and you have cytochrome A3, its heme is heme A3. So this red vanilla color, these are the prosthetic groups, okay, containing iron that will transfer electrons. And you have your subunit 2 containing the copper A. So first, when cytochrome C will bind to a portion of the subunit 2, it will undergo oxidation, and its electrons will be transferred to copper A. And then from this redox center composed of copper ions, from the cupric to the cuprous form, it will be transferred to heme A. From heme A to heme A3, and then to copper B. Okay? Now, what is the role of subunit 3? It has no role in the transfer of electrons, but it will stabilize the structure of subunit 1 and subunit 2. So these are the components of cytochrome C oxidase. So what is the catalytic activity of cytochrome C oxidase? It has only one catalytic activity. What is the catalytic activity? To oxidize the reduced cytochrome C. Okay? To oxidize the reduced cytochrome C. And when it is reduced, its electrons will be transferred to copper A, so to cytochrome A, to cytochrome A3, and then to copper B. And it is in copper B that oxygen will be reduced to water, because oxygen will bind to your cytochrome A3 copper B complex. Okay? So if you are asked about the catalytic activity, if the name of the enzyme is cytochrome C oxidase, then it is cytochrome C that is oxidized. And what is reduced, although it is not part of the enzyme, what is reduced is water. Oxygen. Oxygen is reduced into water. Oxygen will bind to your cytochrome A3 copper B complex, and it is reduced into water after accepting protons and electrons. So we are done now with the components of the electron transport chain from complex 1 to 4, your flavoproteins and your cytochromes, which are proteins. The third type of protein found in the electron transport chain are your iron sulfur proteins. Okay? So differentiate the 4 common types of iron sulfur protein, and differentiate between iron sulfur protein and risky iron sulfur protein. So there are 4 types. This is type 1. You have an iron sulfur cluster. What is the meaning of an iron sulfur cluster? That iron is being anchored to sulfur atoms here found in cysteine amino acid. Remember the cysteine amino acid? It has a sulfur atom. And it is a component of your iron sulfur protein. I'll move the slide first. Okay? So this is an iron sulfur protein, meaning in the polypeptide chain of these iron sulfur proteins, there are cysteine amino acids, where on its side chain, you have sulfur atoms. And the iron atoms that will serve in the transfer of electrons are attached to these sulfur atoms in the cysteine amino acids found in the polypeptide chain. So let's go back. So if this is the first type of iron sulfur center, you only have one iron atom that is coordinated to 4 sulfur atoms. Meaning, when we say coordinated, it is bonded to 4 sulfur atoms of 4 residues of 4 cysteine amino acid residues found in the polypeptide chain in your iron sulfur protein. When you say 2 iron, 2 sulfur atom cluster, it would mean there are 2 iron atoms. And these 2 iron atoms are attached to 2 sulfur atoms. So let's look at this first iron atom. It is bonded to 2 sulfur atoms. Okay? And where are these sulfur atoms? These are side chains found in the side chain of the amino acid cysteine and cysteine. What about this iron atom? This is also bonded to a sulfur atom of the cysteine amino acid and this sulfur atom of the cysteine amino acid. But it is also bonded to inorganic sulfur atoms. When we say inorganic sulfur atoms, these are sulfur ions. Inorganic meaning not a component of an amino acid. Okay? Are you following? Understand? So again, this iron atom is bonded to sulfur atoms with these sulfur atoms are components of your cysteine amino acid residues at each side chain. But what did we say? These iron atoms are also bonded to inorganic sulfur atoms, which are ions. Okay. What about 4 iron, 4 sulfur atoms? So how many iron atoms are there in this iron sulfur protein, there are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are bonded to 4 sulfur atoms. 1 to an inorganic sulfur atom, 2 to an organic sulfur atom. When we say organic sulfur atom, the sulfur atom is composed of an organic molecule, cysteine. So 1, 2, and then another inorganic sulfur atom. In another organic sulfur atom. Okay? So each of the 4 iron atoms are bonded to 2 organic sulfur atoms and also 2 inorganic sulfur atoms. Okay. Look at here. These light-colored yellow balls are organic sulfur atom. While this one darker, this is an inorganic sulfur atom. What is not shown on the slide is the 3 iron, 3 sulfur atom. So again, there are 3 iron atoms and they are also bonded to 3 sulfur atoms. Okay? So what is the difference between a risky iron sulfur protein and an iron sulfur protein? One of the iron atoms in a risky iron sulfur protein, it is bonded to a sulfur, it is bonded to not to an amino acid cysteine but to 2 histidine amino acids. One of the iron atom in the 2 iron to sulfur cluster, one of the iron atoms will be bonded to his 2 histidine residues, not cysteine. That is the difference between this type of protein and the common iron sulfur protein. And this type of protein, rescue iron sulfur protein, this is found in complex 3, which we have discussed already. So, my purpose of this slide is just to show you that in the polypeptide chain, in these iron sulfur proteins, there are cysteine amino acids to which iron atoms are attached. So these are organic sulfur atoms because they are attached to an organic molecule, cysteine, while these 2 are inorganic sulfur atoms. So what is the role of the iron sulfur cluster in an iron sulfur protein? they will participate in the transfer of electrons. Okay, that's the role of the iron sulfur cluster. Okay, so I will go back up to show you the role of the iron sulfur cluster. This one. These are the iron sulfur clusters in complex 1, in complex 3, in complex 2. Okay, there are iron sulfur clusters. So they play a role in the transfer of electrons. So state the components of the electron transfer chain that contain iron sulfur proteins. Complex 1, and then complex 2, and then complex 3, rescue. And then those are the 3 components of the electron transfer chain. And your flavoprotein 3, flavoprotein 3, it contains also an iron sulfur center. But this is not a component of electron transfer chain, but it transfers electrons to coenzyme Q, which is a component of the electron transfer chain. This is just showing you complex 1, 2, 3 components of the electron transfer chain that contain iron sulfur proteins. Complex 4 does not contain an iron sulfur protein, because the prosthetic groups in complex 4 are your cytochromes containing heme. And of course, the other metal, copper. Okay. What about coenzyme Q? Coenzyme Q is the only component of the electron transfer chain that is not protein in nature, because it is lipid in nature. And what are the components of coenzyme Q? You have here a benzoquinone ring, which are the sites to where protons and electrons will attach. And attached to the benzoquinone ring are 6 to 10 isoprenoid units, which are hydrocarbon chains. And what is the purpose of this hydrocarbon chain? It allows coenzyme Q to be dissolved in the phospholipid bilayer of the inner mitochondrial membrane, while the electron transferring portion of coenzyme Q is the benzoquinone ring, while the isoprenoid units, which are hydrocarbon chains, allow coenzyme Q to dissolve in the phospholipid bilayer of the inner mitochondrial membrane. So explain the role of coenzyme Q in the electron transfer chain. So we have explained it already, that it serves to transfer electrons from complex 1 to complex 3, from complex 2 to complex 3. So therefore, it can bind to complex 1, 2, and 3 to become reduced, and then the electrons it carry will be transferred alternately to complex 3. Okay, complex 3. Because the complete name of complex 3 is reduced coenzyme Q, cytochrome C reductase. Okay? So this is the summary of the prosthetic groups of the protein complexes in the electron transport chain. This is complex 1. There are 2 prosthetic groups, the flavin mononucleotide and the iron sulfur center. And these are the location of the flavin mononucleotide in the matrix side, while the iron sulfur protein is in the lipid core, the phospholipid bilayer. And then this is complex 2. It has 2 prosthetic groups also. And this is complex 3. These are the prosthetic groups of cytochrome B, BL, and BH. And you have an iron sulfur center also. And this is the mobile electron carrier, cytochrome C. Its prosthetic group is a heme. And the last component, complex 4, cytochrome C oxidase. And these are the prosthetic groups, heme A, cytochrome A, cytochrome A3. So its prosthetic group is heme A3, and you have copper A and copper B. So this is a summary of the prosthetic groups of the components of the electron transport chain. Question? Ask your question. Sige, we have 5 minutes more. What about complex 5? So complex 5 is not part of the electron transport chain, but it is also found in the inner mitochondrial membrane. And it is the site where ATP synthesis will occur via a process we call oxidative phosphorylation. And what are the components of complex 5? You have F0, this one, this is F0. It acts as a proton channel. What did we say earlier? As electrons are being transferred from complex 1 to complex 4, free energy will be released. And part of the free energy that will be released is utilized to pump protons in complex 1 from the matrix to the intermembrane space. In complex 2, coming from the reduced coenzyme Q, it is pumped into the intermembrane space, and from complex 4, it is also pumped. And therefore, what is created? A proton gradient. Now, because there is a proton gradient, what will happen? If there are more protons in the intermembrane space, then 3 of these protons will flow back into the matrix via the F0, the proton channel in complex 5. While 1 proton will flow into the matrix via a symporter found in the inner mitochondrial membrane. We will discuss that later. And the entry of protons back into the matrix will be utilized in the synthesis of ATP. So later we'll discuss in detail how ATP is synthesized using the proton gradient and the electrical gradient that is created. So this is the electrical gradient that is created. If protons are pumped into the intermembrane space, so there are more protons here, and because protons are positively charged, then the charge on this side of the inner mitochondrial membrane facing the intermembrane space is positive, while the one facing the matrix is negative. And these two gradients will be utilized in the synthesis of ATP via a process we call oxidative phosphorylation. So these are the sources of protons and electrons that are fed into the electron transport chain. So what did we say? The electron